The email arrived at 11:47 p.m. on a Sunday. Subject line: Termination of employment effective immediately. I was in my home office, running final diagnostics on 7 years of work. $3.5 billion in defense technology. The most advanced autonomous threat detection system the private sector had ever developed. My creation. My team's blood, sweat, and countless sleepless nights. The email was 3 sentences long. No explanation. No gratitude. Just a directive not to return to the facility and a notice that security credentials would be revoked at midnight. It was signed by Austin Carmichael, not the CEO, the CEO's son. The same Austin who'd spent the last 6 months shadowing my department, claiming he wanted to learn the technical side of the business. The same Austin who'd asked endless questions about security protocols, backup systems, and fail-safes. The same Austin who'd apparently decided he didn't need me anymore. I read the email twice. Then I picked up my phone and sent a single reply. Did you clear the security protocols? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. His response came through. Everything's handled. Don't contact this number again. I leaned back in my chair and did something that probably would have confused him if he could see me. I smiled. Because Austin Carmichael had just made the most expensive mistake of his entitled life. If you're interested in stories about innovation, corporate betrayal, and why underestimating the people who built your empire is a catastrophic error, consider subscribing. We're working our way to 5,000 subscribers who appreciate that respect and integrity matter more than shortcuts and theft. Join us if this resonates with you. My name is Ava Morty, and until 11 hours ago, I was the Chief Technology Officer and Lead Architect at Artemis Defense Solutions. I grew up in a working-class neighborhood in Pittsburgh, daughter of a steelworker and an emergency room nurse. My parents worked opposite shifts for most of my childhood, passing each other during shift changes with quick kisses and updates about my school projects. Money was tight, but values were abundant. My father taught me that your work should mean something beyond a paycheck. My mother taught me that the people you help might never thank you, but you help them anyway. Those lessons shaped everything about how I approached technology. I didn't build weapons. I built protection. Systems that could identify threats before they materialized, that could save lives by preventing attacks rather than retaliating after casualties mounted. That distinction mattered to me. And that distinction was about to matter a great deal to Austin Carmichael. 7 years ago, Artemis Defense Solutions was a mid-sized contractor struggling to compete against industry giants like Lockheed and Northrop Grumman. They had competent engineers and decent contracts, but nothing revolutionary. Nothing that would elevate them to the next tier. That's when I approached them with something revolutionary. I'd been working at a research laboratory, developing artificial intelligence applications for pattern recognition. During my own time, using my own resources, I developed an algorithm that could process multiple data streams simultaneously and identify anomalous patterns that might indicate coordinated threats. It wasn't just about recognizing known threats. It was about predicting unknown ones based on behavioral analysis and environmental factors. The military applications were obvious and enormous. I could have taken it to the major defense contractors. They would have paid millions for the patent and buried me in some research division where I'd work on incremental improvements for the next 20 years. Instead, I approached Nathan Carmichael, founder and CEO of Artemis Defense Solutions. Nathan was a former Marine officer who'd started Artemis with a vision of making defense technology more accessible to smaller military units and allied nations who couldn't afford the massive systems from major contractors. He valued innovation over bureaucracy, and he understood that the person who creates something should have a say in how it's used. We met at a defense technology conference in Washington. I gave him a 15-minute overview of what my system could do. He gave me his full attention, asked intelligent questions, and made an offer on the spot. Come work for Artemis. Bring your technology. We'll develop it together. You'll maintain creative control over the applications, and we'll split the profits 60-40. 60 for the company? I asked. 60 for you, he said. You created it. You should benefit most. I was 29 years old, and I'd just been offered the opportunity of a lifetime by someone who actually respected my contribution. I accepted. For the next 7 years, I built something extraordinary. I assembled a team of 12 brilliant engineers, programmers, and security specialists. We worked in a dedicated facility with military-grade security. We filed 47 patents. We ran successful trials with 3 branches of the military and 5 allied nations. The system we created, I called it Athena Protocol, could monitor satellite feeds, communications intercepts, social media patterns, and environmental sensors simultaneously. It could identify coordinated attack planning weeks before execution. It had a 93% accuracy rate in controlled tests. The Department of Defense valued it at $3.5 billion. We were 6 months from finalizing the largest defense contract in Artemis history. And then Nathan had a heart attack. Nathan survived, but his doctor was clear: retire or die. At 68 years old with 3 stents in his heart, Nathan didn't have much choice. The board faced a decision about succession. The obvious choice was promoting from within. Our chief operating officer, a brilliant logistics expert named Monica Reeves, had been Nathan's right hand for a decade. But Nathan had a son. Austin Carmichael was 34 years old, Harvard MBA, and absolutely convinced he was destined for greatness. He'd worked at Artemis in various capacities since graduating, mostly in business development and client relations. He was charismatic with clients, excellent at golf course negotiations, and completely lacking in understanding of the actual technology we developed. Nathan chose his son. I understood it. Parents want to build legacies for their children. Nathan had built Artemis from nothing, and he wanted Austin to have that inheritance. But understanding didn't mean I wasn't worried. Austin's first meeting with department heads confirmed my concerns. "We've been thinking too small," he announced. "Athena Protocol is valuable, but we've been limiting ourselves to defense applications. There are commercial markets worth exploring. Smart cities, corporate security, private sector threat assessment. The technology was designed for military applications," I said carefully. "The security requirements alone make commercial adaptation complicated." "Everything's complicated until someone simplifies it," Austin said with the confidence of someone who'd never actually simplified anything technical. "It's not about complexity," I explained. "It's about the sensitivity of the underlying algorithms. We're using classified methodologies. Commercial applications would require completely different foundations. Then we build those foundations. Ava, I respect your expertise, but business requires flexibility." Over the following months, Austin pushed repeatedly for commercial expansion. I pushed back, explaining the legal restrictions, the ethical considerations, and the practical limitations. He started viewing me as an obstacle rather than an asset. Then 6 months ago, everything changed. Austin suddenly stopped pushing for commercial applications. He became interested in understanding the technical infrastructure instead. He started attending my team meetings, asking to observe our development processes, requesting documentation about system architecture. "I want to be able to speak intelligently about our flagship product," he explained. It seemed reasonable. A CEO should understand what his company builds. I gave him access to overviews, attended walkthroughs of our facility, and answered his questions about general functionality. What I didn't give him was access to the core code, the security protocols, or the failsafe systems. Those required authorization I didn't have the power to grant. Those were protected by contracts with the Department of Defense, by patent law, and by security classifications. But Austin was the CEO. He had access to things I didn't. I should have seen what was coming. 3 weeks ago, one of my senior engineers came to my office with concerns. His name was Malcolm Tors, a cybersecurity specialist I'd recruited from the NSA. "We've had some unusual access patterns in our development servers," Malcolm said, pulling up logs on his laptop. I reviewed them. Someone with executive credentials had been accessing our core repositories during off hours. Not just reviewing documentation, downloading source code, architectural diagrams, and proprietary algorithms. "Who has these credentials?" I asked. "Executive level. CEO, COO, CTO. That's it. It's not me, and I can't imagine Monica doing this. That leaves..." "Austin," Malcolm confirmed. "And before you ask, yes, I verified. The access points correspond to his personal devices and office terminal. My stomach sank. How much has he accessed? About 70% of the Athena protocol documentation. He's been systematic about it, a little each night, probably hoping it wouldn't trigger alerts. But it did trigger alerts. Because I built redundant monitoring specifically to catch this kind of access. It's not standard security. I added it after Austin started sitting in on our meetings. Something about him felt off. I could have kissed Malcolm for his paranoia. We need to document this and report it to the board, I said. Already compiled everything. But Ava, you should know, he's also been meeting with representatives from Titan Aerospace. Titan Aerospace, our largest competitor. The defense contractor that had lost the Athena protocol bid to us by a narrow margin. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. Austin wasn't trying to understand our technology. He was trying to steal it. I spent the next week gathering evidence. Malcolm and I built a comprehensive file showing Austin's unauthorized access, his meetings with Titan representatives, and communications we were able to retrieve through our security systems. Then I requested a meeting with the board of directors. Austin was on that board. So was Monica. So were 5 external members representing major investors and defense industry veterans. I presented everything in a closed session. The unauthorized access, the Titan meetings, the clear pattern of corporate espionage. Austin's defense was smooth and practiced. I'm the CEO. I have the right and responsibility to review all company assets. As for Titan Aerospace, I've been in discussions about a potential partnership that could benefit both companies. A partnership involving our proprietary technology, I asked. A partnership involving complementary capabilities. Ava, I appreciate your protective instincts, but you're not in a position to understand the full strategic picture. I understand theft, I said flatly. The room went silent. Austin's face flushed. That's a serious accusation. Backed by serious evidence. The board deliberated for 3 hours. I wasn't present for most of it. Monica found me in the hallway afterward, her expression grim. They're not taking action, she said. What? Austin convinced them he was conducting legitimate CEO oversight. He claimed you were being territorial and resistant to his leadership. 3 board members are longtime family friends. They gave him the benefit of the doubt. Even with the Titan meetings, he framed those as exploratory discussions that went nowhere, said he realized they weren't appropriate and ended them. That's a lie, I know. But Ava, he's Nathan's son, and Nathan still holds significant influence with the board. They're not going to move against Austin without absolutely irrefutable proof of malicious intent. I went home that night knowing I'd lost the first battle. I didn't yet realize Austin had already decided to end the war. The termination email came 2 weeks later. Sunday night, designed to catch me off guard and prevent me from coordinating any response before security locked me out. What Austin didn't know was that I'd spent those 2 weeks preparing for exactly this scenario. Engineers think in systems. We plan for failure modes. We build redundancies and fail-safes. I'd built both into Athena protocol from the very beginning. The technology wasn't just code and algorithms. It was a living system with security protocols that required continuous authentication. Every 72 hours, the core system checked for authorization credentials from designated administrators. I was the primary administrator. Malcolm was secondary. 2 other senior engineers were tertiary. If all 4 of us failed to authenticate within the 72-hour window, the system interpreted that as a security breach and initiated protective protocols. Those protocols included encrypting core functions, fragmenting the source code, and isolating it across multiple secure servers that required biometric and cryptographic keys to access. Essentially, the system locked itself and swallowed the key. It could be recovered, but only with all 4 administrators working together and only within a specific timeframe. After that timeframe expired, the recovery keys themselves degraded according to a cryptographic algorithm I developed specifically for this purpose. I called it the Penelope Protocol, after Penelope from Greek mythology, who unraveled her weaving each night to delay unwanted suitors. If someone tried to steal Athena, Penelope would unravel it. I disclosed the existence of a security protocol in my documentation. I'd even mentioned it required administrative authentication. What I hadn't disclosed was the specifics of what happened if authentication failed. That information lived in a sealed document filed with the Department of Defense as part of our security certification. Austin would have needed specific military clearance to access it, clearance he didn't have. After receiving Austin's termination email, I sent my simple question: "Did you clear the security protocols?" His dismissive response told me everything I needed to know. He had no idea what was coming. I waited exactly 12 minutes, then I called Malcolm. "Did you get an email?" I asked. "10 minutes ago, termination effective immediately. You too?" "Yes." "Have you heard from Rachel or Thomas?" The other two administrators. "Rachel just called me. She got the same email. Haven't reached Thomas yet." "Thomas Chen?" I stopped myself. I realized I shouldn't use that name based on the earlier instruction. Let me call him something else. "Thomas Morrison." "Thomas Morrison is probably asleep," I said, "but it doesn't matter. None of us are authenticating." "The Penelope Protocol," Malcolm said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. "The Penelope Protocol," I confirmed. "Starting now." We synchronized our watches. All four of us would refrain from authenticating. The 72-hour countdown had already begun the moment our security credentials were revoked. I spent Monday monitoring the situation remotely. I still had access to certain external systems, not through Artemis credentials, but through Department of Defense oversight channels. The military maintained independent monitoring of Athena Protocol as part of their security requirements. Around 2 p.m., I noticed Austin's office scheduling an emergency meeting with the development team. By 4 p.m., social media posts from Artemis employees suggested something major was happening. That evening, Malcolm called from a burner phone. They brought in an outside technical team, Titan Aerospace Consultants. They're trying to access the core systems. How far are they getting? Nowhere. They can see the architecture, but the moment they try to access operational code, they hit encryption. Austin is furious. He's claiming we sabotaged the system before leaving. Did he accuse us directly? Not yet. But Ava, there's something else. He's planning a press release for Wednesday, announcing that Artemis has finalized the Athena Protocol and will be demonstrating capabilities to potential international clients. My blood went cold. He's going to try to sell it before securing it. Looks that way. He must think his technical team can crack our security by then. They couldn't, but Austin's arrogance wouldn't let him believe that. I had 48 hours until he embarrassed himself and potentially destroyed Artemis's credibility with the Department of Defense. Part of me wanted to let it happen, to watch him fail spectacularly. But Athena Protocol represented 7 years of my life and my team's dedication. More importantly, it represented critical defense capabilities that our military and allies needed. I wouldn't let Austin destroy that out of pride or spite. I made a call to someone I'd been cultivating a relationship with for the past year, Colonel Diana Westfield. She was the Department of Defense liaison for the Athena Protocol contract. Former Air Force intelligence officer, current Pentagon procurement oversight, and someone who took national security very seriously. We'd worked together closely during the development and testing phases. She understood the technology's strategic value, and she understood my commitment to using it responsibly. I called her personal number at 9 p.m. "Ava, I heard you left Artemis," she said without preamble. "That's concerning." I was fired, along with 3 key members of my technical team. All 4 of us were primary administrators for Athena Protocol security. Silence. "Then, explain." I walked her through everything. Austin's unauthorized access, his meetings with Titan Aerospace, my report to the board and their inaction, the sudden termination of everyone who could authenticate the system, and the current status of Athena Protocol, she asked. "Locked down under Penelope Protocol. Security failsafe I built into the system specifically for scenarios like this." "I remember that designation in your security documentation. I don't remember the specific implementation details. Those were classified at a level above general oversight. You'd need to request the sealed technical appendix." "Which I'm doing right now," she said, and I heard typing in the background. "Ava, if what you're telling me is accurate, Artemis Defense Solutions is currently in breach of multiple contractual obligations regarding security and personnel. That's my assessment. And Austin Carmichael is planning to demonstrate the technology on Wednesday. According to my sources, yes, more typing. He's going to demonstrate technology he can't access to international clients without Department of Defense authorization. That's not just breach of contract. That's potentially criminal. I'm aware. Why are you calling me instead of watching him destroy himself? Because Athena protocol matters more than my personal vendetta. If Austin fails publicly, it damages the technology's credibility. Allied nations will question whether it works. Competitors will claim it was vaporware. The 7 years my team invested will be wasted. What do you want? I want Department of Defense intervention before Wednesday. I want an audit of Artemis security protocols. And I want assurance that when this is resolved, the technology goes to someone who will actually use it to protect people rather than profit from selling it. That's a substantial request. It's a substantial situation, Colonel. She was quiet for a long moment. I need to make some calls. Don't authenticate the system yet. Let it play out until Tuesday evening. That gives me time to coordinate the appropriate response. Understood. And Ava, if this goes the way I think it will, you should prepare for the possibility of taking over Artemis entirely. That caught me off guard. I'm an engineer, not a CEO. You're the person who built their most valuable asset and protected it when leadership failed. That's exactly who should be running the company. We ended the call. I sat in my home office, looking at 7 years of work reduced to encrypted fragments scattered across secure servers, and wondered if I just set events in motion that would change everything. Tuesday morning, I got my answer. At 6:47 a.m., federal agents arrived at Artemis Defense Solutions headquarters with a warrant to audit security protocols and review all access to classified defense technology. Austin apparently tried to refuse them entry. That lasted about 90 seconds before the agents explained that refusing a Department of Defense security audit was grounds for immediate contract termination and potential criminal charges. By 9 a.m., the agents had confirmed that the CEO had accessed classified technology without proper authorization, that 4 primary security administrators had been terminated in potential retaliation for reporting security breaches, and that the current system's status indicated a security lockdown consistent with breach protocols. By 11 a.m., Austin Carmichael was removed from the building and suspended from all executive authority pending investigation. By 2 p.m., the board of directors was in emergency session. Monica called me at 3:30 p.m. "The board wants to speak with you," she said. "They're asking if you'd be willing to return and restore the system." "Under what conditions?" "Whatever conditions you want to name, apparently. The Department of Defense made it very clear that if Artemis can't provide operational Athena protocol within 10 business days, they'll consider us in breach of contract and move the project to another contractor." How did Austin respond to his suspension? By hiring a lawyer and claiming he's being scapegoated for your sabotage of the system. I laughed. I couldn't help it. He still doesn't understand that there is no sabotage. There's just security functioning exactly as designed. Can you explain that to the board? They're not all technical. Some of them believe Austin's version. I'll be there in an hour. I arrived at Artemis headquarters at 4:45 p.m. Security waved me through with apologetic expressions. Several employees stopped to tell me they were glad I was back. The boardroom held all 7 members, plus Monica, and 2 Department of Defense representatives, including Colonel Westfield. I didn't sit down. I walked to the presentation screen and pulled up a document I'd prepared years ago, but never needed until now. "This is the Penelope Protocol," I began. "Named after the faithful wife of Odysseus, who protected her household by unraveling her weaving each night. I built this protocol into Athena's core architecture as a failsafe against theft, coercion, or unauthorized transfer." I walked them through the technical details, the authentication requirements, the 72-hour window, the progressive encryption and fragmentation that occurred when authentication failed. Currently, we're 51 hours into the lockdown. I can reverse it, but only with cooperation from the other 3 administrators who were terminated. and only if the conditions that triggered the lockdown are resolved. One board member, an elderly investor named Howard Fleming, interrupted. "You're holding the technology hostage." "No," I said calmly. "I'm protecting it. That's literally what you hired me to do 7 years ago. Build a system that couldn't be stolen or compromised. I built exactly that." "Austin says you sabotaged it out of spite." "Austin says a lot of things. The Department of Defense Security audit will determine which of us is telling the truth." Colonel Westfield spoke up. "Our preliminary findings support Miss Morty's account. The system is functioning as documented in classified security protocols. There's no sabotage. There's only security working correctly." Another board member, a defense industry veteran named Ruth Castellano, leaned forward. "What would it take for you to restore the system and resume your position?" "Austin Carmichael's permanent removal as CEO. A board seat for myself with veto power over any decisions involving Athena Protocol or its derivatives. Reinstatement with full back pay for Malcolm Torres, Rachel Kim, and Thomas Morrison. And a company-wide security review to ensure this never happens again." "That's asking for a great deal of control," Howard said. "I'm the person who created $3.5 billion in value for this company. I'm asking for enough control to protect that value from being stolen or misused. If that's unreasonable to you, then let Austin and his Titan Aerospace consultants unlock the system themselves." I let that hang in the air. Ruth spoke first. "I move that we accept Miss Morty's conditions in full." "Second," said another board member. The vote was 5 in favor, 2 against. Howard and one of Austin's family friends were the holdouts, but 5 was enough. "Welcome back, CTO Morty," Ruth said, "and congratulations on your board appointment." "When can you restore the system?" Monica asked. I checked my watch. "I need to coordinate with my team. Assuming they all agree to return, we can begin authentication protocols tomorrow morning. Full restoration within 48 hours. "They'll agree," Monica said. "I already reached out. They're just waiting for your call." That evening, I contacted Malcolm, Rachel, and Thomas. All 3 agreed to return under the new conditions. All 3 had been following the situation and were ready to help the moment I gave the word. Wednesday morning, the same day Austin had planned his triumphant press conference, I walked into the Artemis facility with my team. We entered our authentication credentials simultaneously at 10:15 a.m. The Penelope protocol recognized all 4 administrators and began the unwinding process. Encryption keys unlocked. Fragmented code reassembled. Systems came back online with perfect integrity. By 2 p.m., Athena protocol was fully operational. By 3 p.m., we'd run complete diagnostics confirming 0 data loss and 0 corruption. By 4 p.m., Colonel Westfield had certified the system as operational and confirmed Artemis remained in compliance with the defense contract. But the story wasn't quite finished yet. Austin demanded a meeting with the board on Thursday. His lawyer accompanied him, armed with arguments about wrongful termination and defamation. I was invited to attend as a board member. Austin's face when he saw me sitting at that table was worth every stressful moment of the previous week. "She can't be here," Austin said immediately. "She's a party to this dispute." "Miss Morty is a board member with full voting rights," Ruth said. "She has every right to be here." Austin's lawyer adjusted his strategy. "My client has been removed from his position as CEO based on false allegations of misconduct. We're prepared to pursue legal action for wrongful termination, and your client accessed classified defense technology without authorization," I interrupted. "He met with competitors to discuss technology he doesn't own and can't legally share. He terminated 4 employees in retaliation for reporting security concerns. Which part of that is a false allegation? The characterization of his actions as misconduct rather than legitimate executive oversight." I pulled out a document and slid it across the table. This is a communication log retrieved by the Department of Defense audit. It shows Austin discussing specific Athena protocol capabilities with Titan Aerospace representatives, including proprietary algorithms and classified methodologies. That's not oversight. That's corporate espionage and potential violation of the Espionage Act. Austin's face went white. "Those conversations were hypothetical, exploratory." They were specific and detailed, Colonel Westfield said from her seat along the wall. She wasn't a board member, but her presence had been requested. We've reviewed the communications. You disclosed classified information to unauthorized parties. That's a federal crime. I'm the CEO. I had authority. You had executive authority over company operations, I said. You didn't have security clearance for the classified aspects of Athena protocol. That requires Department of Defense vetting and approval. You never received either. Austin turned to the board members who'd supported him before. You're going to let her destroy everything my father built, Monica spoke up. Your father built Artemis on integrity and innovation. You tried to build your legacy on theft and shortcuts. Ava didn't destroy anything. She protected what your father valued most. The meeting lasted another hour, but the outcome was never in doubt. Austin's termination was upheld. His lawyer threatened lawsuits that everyone in the room knew would go nowhere. As Austin left, he stopped at my chair. You think you won, he said quietly. I think I protected 7 years of work and hundreds of jobs. If that's winning, then yes. My father would have supported me. Your father would have been ashamed of you, I said, not unkindly. He built this company on the principle that our technology saves lives. You tried to sell it to the highest bidder. Those aren't the same thing. He left without another word. The following week, the board offered me the CEO position on an interim basis. I declined. Monica was better suited for that role, and she'd earned it through years of dedication. But I did accept an expanded CTO role with executive authority over all technical development and security. I also accepted the board seat with the veto power I'd requested. Most importantly, I brought my team back together, and we continued the work that mattered. 3 months later, we finalized the Department of Defense contract. Athena protocol was deployed to military installations and allied nations. Early results showed the system performing beyond projections. We prevented 2 coordinated attacks in the first 6 months, saved an estimated 300 lives based on threat assessments. That number made everything worthwhile. Austin faced federal charges for mishandling classified information. His lawyers negotiated a plea deal involving fines and probation, but no prison time. Mostly because the information hadn't actually left his control, the Penelope Protocol had prevented that. Still, his career in defense contracting was finished. Last I heard, he was working in commercial real estate in Florida, far from the technology sector. Nathan reached out to me 6 months after everything concluded. We met for coffee, just the 2 of us. I'm sorry, he said without preamble. I knew Austin had weaknesses, but I convinced myself he could grow into the role. I chose family loyalty over company welfare. You chose to believe in your son, I said. That's not wrong. It is when it puts good people at risk. Ava, you built something extraordinary, and I nearly let him destroy it. You also created the environment where I could build it in the first place. I'll always be grateful for that. We talked for over an hour. Nathan had recovered well from his heart attack and was enjoying retirement, but he regretted how his succession plan had unfolded. If I'd known you were interested in leadership, I would have considered you for CEO, he said. I wasn't ready then, maybe not ready now, but I'm exactly where I need to be. And where's that? Building things that matter. Protecting people who need protection. Using technology to make the world marginally safer than it was yesterday. Nathan smiled. Your parents raised you right. They did. As we parted ways, Nathan gave me a piece of advice. Don't let what Austin did make you cynical about collaboration or trust. The world needs more people who build things together, not fewer. I took that advice to heart. Over the following year, I expanded my team. We developed 3 additional protocols based on Athena's architecture, each focused on different aspects of threat detection and prevention. I also implemented new mentorship programs at Artemis, specifically targeting engineers from backgrounds similar to mine, people who understood technology's potential to change lives, not just generate profits. One of those mentees was a brilliant young programmer named Kelly Zhao. She reminded me of myself at 25, hungry to prove herself, deeply ethical, and absolutely convinced she could change the world. Why did you stay? She asked me one day. After everything Austin did, why didn't you just take your technology and start your own company? Because Athena Protocol wasn't just my technology. It was built on infrastructure Artemis provided, with a team Artemis helped me assemble, using resources Artemis invested in. Walking away would have been abandoning everyone who contributed. But you could have made more money on your own. Probably. But I would have done it alone, and I would have lost the part that mattered most: the collaboration, the shared purpose, the knowledge that we were building something bigger than any individual. Kelly thought about that. So integrity isn't just about being honest. It's about honoring your obligations to people who trusted you. Exactly. She became one of our best engineers. 3 years later, she developed a breakthrough in quantum encryption that made Athena protocol virtually unhackable. Her innovation became the foundation for our next generation of defense systems. That's the thing about building with integrity. It attracts other people who value the same things. It creates a culture where innovation thrives because people trust each other. Austin tried to build on theft and shortcuts. He ended up with nothing. I built on collaboration and protection. We ended up changing the defense technology industry. 5 years after the Penelope Protocol incident, Artemis Defense Solutions had tripled in valuation. We held contracts with the Department of Defense, NATO allies, and strategic partners in Asia and South America. But more importantly, our technology had verifiably prevented hundreds of attacks and saved thousands of lives. I kept a map in my office showing every deployment of Athena protocol and its derivative systems. Each pin represented lives protected, threats neutralized, families that didn't receive devastating news. That map was my reminder of why the difficult decisions mattered. Standing up to Austin could have destroyed my career. Implementing Penelope protocol could have backfired if the board hadn't supported me. Trusting Colonel Westfield could have ended badly if she'd chosen bureaucracy over action. But all those risks were worth taking because the alternative was allowing theft, corruption, and misuse to triumph. My parents taught me that your work should mean something beyond a paycheck. They taught me that helping people matters even when they never thank you. I built a career on those principles. And when someone tried to steal what I'd built, those same principles became my protection. The Penelope Protocol wasn't just code. It was a manifestation of the idea that creation should be protected, that integrity should have teeth, and that the people who build things deserve to control how they're used. Austin learned that lesson the hard way. But the broader lesson applies to anyone facing ethical challenges in their work. Build with protection in mind. Don't just create value, create safeguards for that value. Don't just trust that people will do the right thing. Build systems that encourage the right thing and prevent the wrong thing. And most importantly, remember that the people who help you create something are your greatest asset. Protect them, honor them, and build with them. Because in the end, technology is just code and algorithms. What gives it meaning is the human intention behind it. I intended to save lives. That intention shaped every decision I made, from the original architecture of Athena protocol to the implementation of Penelope, to the choice to trust Colonel Westfield instead of letting Austin destroy everything. Intention matters, integrity matters, protection matters. And sometimes, the code you write to protect your creation becomes the most important code you ever write. Austin thought he could steal 7 years of work with executive authority and entitled confidence. He didn't understand that I'd spent those 7 years building protection into every layer of the system. He fired me via email at 11:47 p.m. on a Sunday. By Wednesday afternoon, he'd lost everything, and I'd gained the authority to ensure it never happened again. That's not revenge, that's just good engineering. If this story resonated with you, if you believe that protecting what you build matters as much as building it in the first place, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe. We're working toward 5,000 subscribers who understand that innovation without integrity is just exploitation waiting to happen. Join this community, and let's build something that matters together. Thank you for listening to my story. Whatever you're creating, whatever challenges you're facing, remember, build protection into your work from the beginning. Trust the people who help you create. And never apologize for refusing to let thieves steal what you've built. Sometimes the best defense is a self-destruct code only you control. And sometimes, watching someone face the consequences of underestimating you is the sweetest victory of all.